we're recording now, Brian.
Hello, and welcome to Flick This Movie. I'm Brian Glass.
And I'm Renee Garcia.
Today we're going to be reviewing Joker. Renee, do you have a
Brian.
trailer for us?
Yes, I do.
Let's
It's
roll
actually
that
going to
trailer.
work. It's going to work tonight.
I feel it.
And I'm rolling it now.
Can you please stop bothering my kid?
Sorry.
Arthur, I have some bad news for you. This is the last time we'll be meeting.
You don't listen, do you?
All right, that's enough of that.
I was
You
mirroring
don't listen.
I was mirroring you. That was kind of fun.
Okay.
So Renee, you want to start us off this week and tell everyone what you thought of Joker.
Yeah. So my initial impression is, or my initial thought is that this is an extremely well-crafted movie. Everything about it, I think, is just extremely well done, like at a very high level. It's one thing that really stood out to me from nearly at the beginning was that it was very well produced. It really transported me back to, I guess, the late 70s, but I'm hesitant to say that it transported me back there because I don't really remember the late 70s.
Right.
I didn't live through the late 70s, but what I can put together from, different movies I've seen and, photographs and just different things that have penetrated my sphere of existence, I guess, related to the 70s. It makes me feel like, wow, they brought it to life, like watching or seeing a black and white Civil War photograph suddenly coming to life, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't read too much into that. I just thought, wow, it really felt alive to me. Like I felt like the set decorators or whoever's in charge of this part of making movies, with like all the bags of trash everywhere and just getting the right amount of people walking on the streets and getting the right decorations for the different stores and the fonts and stuff like that. I just felt like this I don't feel like there are any traces of modernity in it in the way that, I don't know if you saw it was a Wolverine movie where he goes back in time. Which one was that?
I don't remember. They're all pretty bad in the middle.
Okay. In any event, he goes back in time and it didn't really feel like
Right.
a different era.
Yeah.
It felt like people dressing up to be that different era, but the actors, they didn't behave in a way that felt any different, I guess. Anyway, so
It's interesting though that you say that just because of all the lip service that was paid a month and a half ago, whenever it was, to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and it transporting you back. This kind of, I didn't hear anything about it beforehand in terms of when it was going to be set. But it was so, you're right, it was so like dead on. I mean, I felt like I was watching a period piece from then as well.
yeah, the only
More
thing
so
it was.
than Tarantino.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. The only thing I felt like that was missing was more graininess to the film stock, right? Like it looked too clear.
Okay.
And if they had just gone that extra step, I think maybe that would have been a little meta. But it really would have, I think, transported me further. Like, not only was I watching an older movie, but I was now in an older era because I'm watching in like old footage almost. Anyway, beyond that, I thought it was also wonderfully acted all around. I know as an audience member, I spent most of the time watching Joaquin Phoenix, but I think, all of the supporting cast, they all felt very natural. And, I think what I enjoyed was that I didn't recognize any of these other actors, except for Robert De Niro, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
But, everybody else, I felt like, hey, these are, lesser known actors who are getting a chance to just, really own their scenes.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that. And, that kind of just touches on something else I've been thinking about lately, and maybe we can talk about that later. I kind of want to stay on topic here. But try to remind me to talk about it later. You know what? I'm just going to make a note. I'm just going to make a note right here. Okay.
Good program. Yeah. Good programming.
Hey, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. We do it the way we're going to do it. Okay. So I really felt like this was an actor's movie. And what I mean by that is, director Todd Phillips, he just let the scenes breathe, right? Like, it's almost as if he said, okay, this is going to happen in this scene, and this is the one tiny event, like maybe a phone is ringing and you need to answer it. You're going to start here in this room. And then you're going to talk to the person on the phone, right? That's the direction. And then he just turned on the camera. Someone cued the phone after like a minute. And then the actor gets up the way that he felt, his character would, and answers the phone. And then that's the scene, right? And so you really got to experience, and I'll stop being cagey about it. We're talking about the main character, Arthur Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix. You really got to experience him and what he's like, and how he moves through the world, and how the world interacts with him, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And so I really appreciated that, because that's not something you typically get in non-independent movies. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can just keep talking here. So if you want to like jump in, I don't want to filibuster here. So if you have some thoughts around anything specific that I'm saying, feel free to interrupt me.
I have some thoughts, but I'll kind of wait until you get to your summation, I guess, a little bit.
Okay. All right. So I want to say, kudos to Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, I feel like this is Oscar-worthy, an Oscar-worthy performance, but mainly because he had the time to act. We weren't like frenetically jumping from scene to scene and like he's doing stuff and he's really active. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, some thoughts about his character. He is both a sympathetic character because, he is the way he is, and we'll get to this in spoilers, but he is the way he is due to reasons that aren't within his control.
Right.
At least by and large. But he's also, at least to my eye, very repulsive as a character because of how weak he is. How weak his character is portrayed within the movie. I was going to go into some detail here, but I guess I'll wait. So just generally, let me say that, and so because of I think the strong portrayal in the first half of the movie, I enjoyed. I could start rooting for the Joker once he starts doing like horrible things, because it makes him, he's now assertive, and he's not weak in the way that he was weak before. And so I really liked that change in the character.
It's difficult to do a review without, you have to dance around so much on this one, huh? For spoilers.
Right.
So much.
So with that said, there are some things I don't like about the movie, and I don't know if you want to like jump in here with your positive opinions before we kind of like turn this into, some cons.
Well, I have some things I want to say, and I will say they're mostly pro. So
okay, well then I can just continue if you want.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this is not a movie I would watch again.
Okay.
It's a small movie, and you spend so much time with Arthur that it starts to feel claustrophobic. And while I enjoyed, to a degree, Well, while I enjoyed the drawn out scenes, in one respect, I also did not like them because I felt like this was a 45-minute story stretched out over 2 hours. And maybe that's a personal problem, meaning I've been trained by modern filmmaking to expect more editing and shorter scenes and just to fill in the blanks myself. So there we are. That's really it for my cons that I can remember.
So would you say then that this is going to be a movie that you're going to flick or pick?
I would still pick it. Even though I would never watch it again, I would still pick it.
Right.
I think kind of in the way that, I don't think I would ever watch There Will Be Blood again. But I still appreciated it. I still appreciated the film, and I really appreciated Daniel Day-Lewis's acting. So there we are.
Yeah. What's the movie? I can't believe I'm forgetting this right now. But the movie, Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
I watched it in the theater, and I had a deep reaction to it, as many people did.
Yeah.
And this is years ago, so I went out and bought the DVD when it came out. Never watched it. I still haven't been able to get myself to watch it again. But not for the same reason. Just it was too hard for me to get into it again and re-experience everything that it kind of puts you through.
I revisit that movie a lot, to be honest.
It's an exceptional movie.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it again. It was harsh. Yeah.
Okay, Brian. Well, what did you think of Joker?
So, I remember when Roger Ebert was alive, he used to have his this cruise he did annually, and he would take like a small group of people on this thing, and they would do like a screening. They would watch several movies. I think it was called like the Overlooked movies or something like that. But he would also always take one movie and sit there and analyze it with a group, just dissect it, sometimes like frame by frame. I remember like Dark City was one of them, where he just really got in there and analyzed it and got you more into the craft of the film. In watching this movie, I felt like it was worthy of study. This was an impressive movie for me. And I'll say right now that most of what I want to really talk about is going too much into spoilers. So like you, I'm probably going to give a fairly short review. But I'll sum it up like this. We follow Arthur Fleck, like you mentioned, from his journey as a lifeless clown for hire to the clown prince of Gotham, who's full of life, and that arc is all we're interested in this. Like you said, it's a small movie because it's a character study. It's introspective. I personally found it beautiful, not just to look at, just the whole narrative was just so well done. And I was enwrapped watching this movie like I haven't been in a long time. This was really impressive. You said it was a 45-minute stretched out to a 2-hour. And I felt those movies before where it's like, oh God, get on with it already. And this is one where, I never looked at the watch. I was on board completely throughout this movie, delving deeply into the psyche of a troubled man, as he begins his journey from oppressed man to a man who's in control of his life, essentially, by the end. And that's not giving anything away. That's, this is the origin story for a villain, and what else is going to happen there?
Before you move on, I just want to touch on something you said there. I neglected to bring it up when I was extolling the virtues of this movie.
Yeah.
And that is the beauty of the visuals and the meaning that there were meaningful shots, and you can maybe say they're heavy-handed, but I really liked the symbolism of Arthur climbing the stairs.
Yes.
Like there's long stairs and there's lights at the top of the stairs, and it's just this arduous climb, and he does it, a couple of times in the movie.
Yeah.
And then when he embraces his dark side, what's he doing? He's descending into madness.
Yep.
Anyway,
I have that same note, because, to get into the craft of it a little bit, what they did was such an interesting thing. I mean, I caught it right away when it was happening. So to kind of go a little bit deeper into what you said, that first scene early on in the movie, he's climbing the stairs, and it's an arduous trip up the stairs, right? He's laboring step by step, right? I think he's even got those stupid clown shoes on, right? He's laboring up the stairs. But what they do in terms of direction is they start slowly taking the camera up, right? So as they're doing it, what it essentially does is, even though he's moving up slowly, he's staying in place.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning of the movie, that's all he's doing. He's walking as hard as he can, as hard as he's able to, and he's not getting anywhere. Versus what you said at the end. I mean, he's like, it's joy. Every time he's descending the stairs, and there are several times, besides the one that's in the trailer and that everyone's seen, little ones where he's kind of just beginning to get that, that feeling of who he really is. There's one scene where he goes down like a flight of stairs, and he writes on the, it's after the clown deal. He writes up there, and he's like walking down in such a way that's almost jovial, and it's so opposed to the way we would feel in this situation. It's so anti-hero, you know what I mean? That it's like, yeah, it's on the nose, but I really appreciate it. I thought it was well done, and I thought even the techniques they used were subtle, and letting Joaquin Phoenix really embody that character, to me was probably half the movie. It's half of how impactful it was to me, because he just did a fantastic job. I mean, you mentioned that he's Oscar worthy. I mean, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if the role of Joker is going to produce its second Oscar winner. Just amazing. Yeah. So a couple other things. He's a character that's like literally dancing to his own music. He sees the world in a different way. I thought there was an interesting scene early on, and I won't say too much other than there's a character that he's sort of interacting with that does the whole, blowing off your head, and this person goes, right? And when he does it, kind of in reaction, he goes like this, right? And again, it's a subtle piece of direction or acting that he's so out of touch with reality that he thinks that, that's how this is how a head moves when it's shot. He's not in touch with that part of himself yet. He has no experience and no connection. So it's a misunderstood thing to him. There's so many scenes like this where I was just like, oh, I love it. And I'm always looking for those things. And they're like being thrown at me like that, and I really appreciated that. One thing we didn't talk about early on was the laughing condition. I don't think that's really giving anything away, but I thought manifesting the Joker's laugh in that way was really original.
I agree.
And I thought, his acting with his forehead versus what was going down on the bottom of his face, and how they were in opposition was just so cool to watch.
Yeah. I was going to say I saved that note for the spoiler section, but that's fine. We can talk about it. When you first see him laughing and it's juxtaposed against the horrible thing that he just experienced, and they just leave the camera on him. Right? You don't know where he is, what's going on. He's just laughing like a madman. And the way he's laughing is not like a jovial laugh. It's like it's almost like an angry laugh if you can manage that, right?
Or a pained laugh, maybe.
Okay, yeah, sure, but like that's so incongruent, right? And then it's like they reveal a little bit, like, oh, there's someone else in the room, and this lady's just like staring at him, like almost waiting for him to finish.
Right.
And then you're just like lost, like, this is insane. What am I watching? But it draws you in, right? Yeah. And at that point, I was like, wow, this movie could get pretty deep. And then, of course, when they reveal that, the whole condition thing, I thought, wow, what an excellent convention
Yeah.
And I thought it was really in line with the Joker, like with explaining why the Joker is the way he is, more
Right.
than just he's sadistic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was a nice layer on top of it. I had such mixed emotions when I heard about Joker, the movie, because this is back, what, they announced it maybe a year and a half ago. And first thing I thought was, man, DC does not have their stuff together. And they
Right.
have like another actor playing Joker. You know, they just had Leto doing
Yeah.
it. Now they have Joaquin Phoenix, who I really like as an actor, coming in and doing it. You know, there's no cohesiveness to what they do. And when I saw the trailer, I was really excited to see this. I'm like, that's really interesting. I hope it's as good as what I'm seeing here, because you know how trailers can belie a much worse movie, unfortunately.
Totally.
And then going in, I just hoped it would serve the character well, you know, especially after the Heath Ledger treatment, which I really liked. And throughout this movie, I was grinning, like from start to finish. And it was never because of what was happening in the movie. You know, it was not because of the jokes. It was nothing sarcastic about it to me. It was just, I had a joyful experience at a movie that was dark, you know, but just so well done that I loved it. I mean, this is a movie I will go back and see. Again, I have no problem going back and see it because I really enjoyed it. I recommend it to any like real film lover. I think anyone's really going to appreciate this. And you know, you can't really live in society right now without hearing some of the things that are people are saying about it, or the stories on the news that I heard before I went to my showing of it. Oh, violence is going to break out because of this deeply dark movie, and you know, all these violent acts are so over the top and blah blah blah. And you know, if you really look at the death toll of this, it's very small.
Yeah.
You know, and it's compare it to the feel good of a John Wick series. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think the thing that's different is, you know, when John Wick is shooting people, there's a reason, but it's, you know, these are faceless people, versus this movie where every single time someone is killed, it's deeply purposeful.
Yeah. Right.
Each one of these means something to the character, and you care about it, and so these deaths are felt more severely because of how he's been treated throughout. So, you know, I think, I don't know if I can really do much more without going to spoilers. I mean, you can ask me if you want. I think it's pretty obvious where I am on this movie.
Yeah, Brian, would you flick or pick this movie?
I am going to pick this movie, my friend. This is
right.
This is one of my favorite movies of the year.
This is why we go see movies, Brian.
Man, if there were more like this, I would be a happier man.
Yeah, they're not. They're
They're
like
not.
this.
This is like a gem.
Yeah.
This is what I was hoping. I mean, we talked about it months ago. Oh, looking down the list of what's coming out, there may be a good movie.
Right. Maybe.
I don't see anything before or after it, but for a while.
All right. Well, with that said, then let's go to the spoilers.
Yes. Sorry, there is no spoiler intermission for us. I've not
maybe my
created
computer can crash again, and then, you know, we'll just have this
That'd be a
jump
great
cut.
one. Blue screen.
Exactly.
Spoiler alert.
Okay. So, what was the first thing I wanted to say about this?
Yes.
I did want to talk about the laughing. What else did I like? There was something else. Well, I guess I can't remember it now. Well, maybe it'll come back to me. How about you start with the spoiler, Brian?
So one scene that I found really impactful.
Okay, no, I got it. I'm sorry. I'm going to lose it if you keep talking. I got it. Okay,
One
so
thing I found very impactful will be spoken about soon, perhaps. Maybe you're going to talk about it.
I went into this movie. Okay, well, let me back up because this is what I really wanted to get into. This has nothing to do with the movie itself. So I went to go watch this. This is a rant about why I hate people, why I like almost like sympathize with the Joker.
Yeah.
You know, I went to go watch it at, you know, I didn't go to like a big theater where I live. I went to a smaller one, and you know, it's cheaper, and I just figured, well, you know, it's not going to be busy. People want to probably see this new movie. at a place where there are a lot of people, right? And there's a lot of hype. So I went to this other place, a smaller place, older place, and it just sucked because there was a long line. I don't know if everyone else had the same idea. And, we're just standing in line forever. And then, I finally get in, and, man, it's just, people are just shuffling in like, man, this is going to be a packed house. I can't believe it. And it's one of those theaters that's just, one aisle down the middle. And, the seats are maybe like 6 deep on each side.
Yeah.
And already the people in the theater I'm with are annoying me. People are putting up their feet on the seat backs in front of them or on the armrest. I'm just thinking, it seems like it's going to get filled up pretty fast. Right. And you just got your grimy soles on this guy's armrest, and he's going to have to tell you to move it. And now I was like, I'm starting to empathize with this guy, like feeling the stress of like this imaginary person who's going to take this seat and have to like deal with like, oh, did this guy step in like dog crap before he came in? Is that on my armrest now? All of this stuff, right? Anyway, so then the lights dim and we're watching this movie, and I can already tell like, oh, hey, this is a movie I'm going to appreciate because I have a refined palate for this kind of movie. But, the hoi polloi around me, I could already tell like, ooh, they're not feeling this because people are like shifting in their seats. People are getting up and like going in and out of the theater to like take calls and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they got to come in and they're shining their light to like, see their way. And then there was this other dude who I guess he decided, you know what? I'm at the theater. I've paid $1 million for these concessions. And, free refills on the drinks and the bucket of popcorn. I'm going to freaking get my money's worth. Right?
Yeah.
And so does he sit in the seat next to the aisle so that he doesn't have to, like, inconvenience other people? Of course not. He sits next to the wall. So, and they're like 5 other people there. And because it's an old theater, right, made for smaller people when humans were smaller, right, there isn't any leg room. There's like maybe an inch between your knee and the seat back in front of you. So people actually have to get up, like stand up, have the little seat like flip up underneath them so they can kind of lean back against their own chair and let this guy go and get his refill. And he did this 3 or 4 times. This is how much he was eating and drinking while watching this movie. Just like handfuls. He must have been just like scarfing this down, like he like a funnel in his mouth and just like, get it in there. Or the little, those things that you used to load muskets. It's like,
I'm
what do you
not
call
going to
that,
eat for
Brian?
days before this movie.
What's that?
Yeah, I'm not going to eat for days.
Exactly. I'm watching the movie with Kobayashi training for Nathan's hot dog contest. Anyway, so that was my experience. So I'm impressed I could remember any part of this movie because I was dealing with like, and then there were people who are walking in who didn't know what movie it was. Is this the movie? Wow. Is this what I'm supposed to watch? And they're just standing behind me because I'm in the back in case, there's some kind of incident. I got my Kevlar vest on, ready to go, ready to run out. You know what I mean?
You're last out that way, bro.
What's that?
You're last out, though.
I'm
Gotta
last
sit right
out.
in front, just boom.
Oh,
Just
no. Well, what if I
something
was going to
comes.
exit through where I entered, not like behind the screen? Is that what you're
Gotcha.
thinking?
I thought to the side.
Oh, no. In any event, that was my experience watching this movie. So, the thing I wanted to say is, when I try not to go into these movies with any preconceptions. However, I wondered, if we are following the Joker, how can this movie make a character that I want to root for, right? If he's going to do horrible things within the universe of this movie, how can they write him in such a way that will make me sympathize with him?
Yeah.
And so I imagined that this was just going to be this generation's Falling Down. And that's an old movie with Michael Douglas, a Joel Schumacher movie. If you can believe it, probably the only Joel Schumacher movie that I like.
Yeah. It's a good movie.
On the other hand, I don't know that I can name any other Joel Schumacher movies except for like the Batman movies.
Yeah.
In any event. And in Falling Down, it's a guy who kind of like rails against society, and then he's kind of, he starts doing things that we all kind of fantasize about doing in society, right? Of course, killing people or shooting up stores or whatever. We would never want that in society, but it's like, I feel like it's it's an outburst that we can all appreciate. So I figured that was going to be what was going to happen here in Joker. It wasn't that, and I was a little disappointed. That's all I wanted to say as far as the spoilers go.
Just that it was more his personal story than...
Yeah, like I said, it's a small story.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying, but...
You see.
I hear...
What about your other senses? Oh, okay. You hear me.
I smell you. I smell what you're cooking.
Yes.
I touch you, Renee.
Okay, good. Good, Brian.
I touch you, but I mean that's kind of what I'm hearing as being one of the problems with the film, is that it's for people to, or the people that can relate to him and what he went through. This is like encouraging that type of behavior. So, and I didn't see that. I saw it as, this is a tale of one man and what he went through in society and what he went through in his own life and how he came out of it. It's just how he came out of it. I agree. It's a small movie. And I haven't seen a small movie like this in a while. And I certainly didn't expect it in a superhero or supervillain movie. You know what I mean? Something under that guise. In fact, was there even a DC intro on this?
No, because
There wasn't, right?
They went full on,
Yeah, indie.
like classic Warner Brothers logo. I was like,
Right,
dude,
right.
it's so interesting how, imagery can have such a lasting impression, because it's like I grew up seeing that old logo.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway.
So one scene that I found particularly interesting, unless you want to interrupt me again, would be
To complain about people in my life.
I had a similar situation.
All right.
People are just atrocious, dude.
Yeah, they are horrible.
It's to me, it was like 2 seats away, the plastic bag.
Yeah.
The plastic bag. Dude, seriously? Really? But then part of me was like, yeah, it's kind of helping with the feeling of the movie.
Yeah. Making me angry.
So after he shot the first 3 people in the subway,
Yeah.
he runs into that bathroom, and he's kind of gathering himself and steadying himself.
Yeah.
And the staging and blocking of that scene were so interesting. Like, you mentioned that sometimes I'm sure they just let the camera roll on Joaquin Phoenix and he did his dances and did whatever he did to answer the phone or whatever. On this one, I felt like it was extremely purposeful because of the way it was shot. It's like they isolated certain parts of it. So it felt like it was very purposeful in terms of the staging, the blocking, the shot selection. And his like upper body and what he's going through are trying to come to grips with what he just did. Meanwhile, his feet like start kind of moving on their own, like almost independently of what's happening above him, kind of like the same thing that's happening with his smile and his in his brow.
Yeah,
they're kind of like starting to do almost a little dance, and it kind of slowly takes over his body until he's fully into the mirror. Man, that was a powerful shot to me. I was like, this is the whole scene, the dance, the whole thing was like a sort of awakening. It almost looked like Tai Chi a little bit, like he was doing at one part, but he was really like getting in touch with that inner part of himself.
Yeah.
And the way I saw it was that as he looked in the mirror, and this is a guy who said he didn't know if he knew it, he wasn't sure if he existed. It was almost like he was being presented to himself in the mirror, like, yeah, you are real. This is you. This is the real you, man. And wow, just what a great scene. Like that scene itself is worthy of study. It's just so well done.
Wow. I didn't pick up any of that. I just figured Todd Phillips said, hey, Joaquin, do some Tai Chi. Here, this is you. You're trying to like calm yourself down. And he was like, I don't know Tai Chi. It's fine. Neither does the Joker. Just like, just do it. And he's like, okay. And then he did it. And he did this kind of like fake Tai Chi thing.
Yeah.
And I just figured, it reminded me of a scene in Johnny Mnemonic. I don't know if you've seen that movie,
No.
Keanu Reeves.
No.
I love
Nor will
watching
I.
that movie. I love that movie.
Never.
We're going to watch together,
Nope.
Brian.
No, we will not.
What? Why?
No.
Why?
There's a dolphin in that movie.
Yeah.
No.
And it has a Dolph Lundgren as well.
Oh.
Hey.
Nope.
Okay. I mean, you'll watch the John Wick movies, but you won't watch Johnny Mnemonic.
Dude, it looks horrible. It looks horrible. I saw the trailer and I'm like, this is terrible looking.
Dude, it's not the best movie in the world, right? It may not even be like a good movie necessarily by our standards, but it's a fun movie. You know, it's like a Blade or whatever. You know, just like something that you'll fold laundry to while it's on TV or something. Okay.
All right.
But
So if you want to get together and fold laundry, we can watch it.
well, there you go.
That's
I
fair.
have chores. I got chores. Chores are never ending. You know.
Watch it on the phone as we drive.
Yeah, as we drive. In any event.
Check out that dolphin.
Yeah. What are we talking about, Brian? How did we get here?
Dolphins with brain caps, I think.
No, here we go. So it made me think of a scene in Johnny Mnemonic. He goes through this thing, this traumatic experience. It's early on in the movie, and he centers himself. He like goes to the bathroom, and he's looking at himself in the mirror, and he does this kind of like almost like like Asian thing where he's like just like almost kind of I don't know like a martial arts meditation, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I just figured it was something like that, and in line with the rest of the movie as I had seen it and perceived it. It's like, okay, what should have been like a 10-second thing, hey man, let's just draw it out. Just keep acting, Joaquin.
It was beautiful.
And then Todd Phillips like whispering to the cameraman, okay, now zoom up on the eyes. Okay.
Don't forget the feet. He's doing something with the feet.
Or maybe they're just shooting in like 8K. So they got the entire thing. It's like, okay, in editing, we're going to zoom up here. We're going to zoom up there.
They've got 3 cameras rolling at all times. You never know what you're going to miss.
Exactly.
We'll finish in editing.
Yeah.
No, man, that couldn't possibly be the case for this one.
Okay.
I encourage you to watch it again if you get a chance. Not in the theater, though.
No, maybe.
Not in the theater.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought another thing that was really interesting was the way he looked at the world, and that it was just askew from kind of mainstream, right? And that scene when he's the first time he's in the comedy club by himself, and he's taking notes.
Yeah.
And the guy's telling his joke, and he's like, so I'm a professor, right? He's the setup for the joke, and he starts laughing, right? Everyone else is quiet. And then they get to the punchline, and everyone starts laughing. He's laughing at all these odd times.
Right.
But like what he was laughing at to me was like the silliness of the setup. It wasn't just like a random ha 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 laugh.
Right. Yeah.
It was like he just sees things differently. I just thought that was a really well constructed scene that I did watch it twice. It holds up to multiple viewings really well, especially if you go. I mean, I love the movie, man. I really did. This is a great movie. So when you watch it, knowing kind of where he is mentally, and you watch those times that he laughs, you can kind of see why he's laughing. If you're really kind of if you live in his psyche long enough, those 2 hours that you need, I think you really get a good idea of how the character thinks. Okay. So I'm not convincing you on this one.
Well, it made me think of something just now. And I think that's why I had this kind of like 1,000-yard stare just now. Did you see a recent Joaquin Phoenix movie? I was never really there. You were never really there. Something like that.
No.
Okay.
I want to see it though.
So, his character here and his character in that movie had similarities. I wouldn't say they were very similar, but there were similarities. Like his character in the other movie, and You Were Never Really There. He's a little off, and he also lives with his aged mother, right? And so he's got that relationship, and
right.
It's just, and then there are weird things that happen in that movie that I felt like were uncharacteristic of the character as I knew him. he kills somebody out of revenge or out of yeah, I guess it's out of revenge. And then as that guy's dying, and like he holds his hand, you know, while he's dying, and I'm like, that's weird. Like, you know, this is like really artsy. Like, what am I supposed to get from this? Anyway, so all of this is to say that I felt like it was a continuation of that movie, what I was watching here. And so maybe that's why I felt like I've seen this performance from Joaquin before, right? And maybe that's why a lot of this didn't penetrate my perception. And also there was some guy who kept getting up in front of me to refill his popcorn and soda. So, you know, I remember that a lot.
I really wish I had the foresight to just get up, you know, 4 or 5 times while you're talking. Just go get into the fridge.
Okay, so here's... I'm sorry, Brian, did I interrupt the thought?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so one thing I want to ask is, what really happened in this movie, Brian? What happened in this movie?
What do you mean, what happened in this movie?
So...
What specifically are you trying to get
the
at?
whole thing. Did any of it happen? Do you
I
know? Can you say that with any amount of certainty?
mean, I feel like I took it for face value that everything happened in the movie as it was presented, with the exception of the love affair, which, you know, had its own little reveal.
Did he try to kill himself in the refrigerator?
No, I don't think he did. I know what you're saying, because it was just left. It was just left there, right?
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that once they reveal this convention that he has, his imagination is so strong that he is living them out now. Where does his imagination end and reality begin? Because, okay, fine. It's revealed that the whole relationship with the neighbor doesn't exist, didn't happen.
Right.
That's great. Okay, I like that. But then he visits Thomas Wayne. He confronts him. He supposedly gets punched in the face, and then he's hovering over a sink, you know, to let his nose bleed. And then there's a match cut to him hovering over, I don't know if it's a sink or just a counter in his kitchen.
Right.
And then he goes to the refrigerator and starts yanking stuff out so he can go inside the refrigerator to kill himself.
Yeah.
And then, hey, he closes the fridge. And I think you have to be a certain age to remember when they warned you, don't go, if you find an abandoned refrigerator, don't hide in it, children, because you can't open it from the inside and then you die. This is what we had to grow up with, everybody, young people. In any event, so once the door closes, we have to assume, okay, he's killing himself, right? Someone better run in there and open the door or something. Yeah. But instead, next scene, he's in bed jerking off, right? I guess he's alive again. Yeah, he's in bed in the background, and then the phone rings to say, hey, I'm the booker for Robert De Niro's show. We want you to be on the show.
Yeah. I didn't catch that was I didn't catch that was what he was doing.
Oh, well, you got to watch it a third time, Brian. You'll see his hand is like in his underwear. Anyway, so
I think
the question becomes,
yeah.
I mean, I could make a reasonable argument that he's in Arkham this whole time.
Yeah.
And he's just this whole thing that that we watched is him just telling the psychiatrist a story.
Right. I think that's absolutely fair what you said, and I can't argue against it. I think it's a choice, it's a perception. I don't feel that was what was actually happening, but I think that it's fair for you to ask that question. I mean, this is. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with the ambiguity, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay. I guess I have I, as a moviegoer, like to feel a little more concrete about things. I mean, I don't mind playing with perception of reality, but I think I just need the filmmakers to tell me, this is really what happened. So, for instance, if we look at like Fight Club, you saw Fight Club, right, Brian?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we can say we can make the same argument. Like, you could make the same argument I just made back to me and say, well, what happened in that movie? I feel like the movie is doing a little more to tell me, like, okay, these things didn't happen and these things did. I think the one thing that kind of breaks that argument for me in The Joker is the refrigerator scene, because, now, we're just, that is a scene that is inexplicable, right? Either that scene didn't happen, or the Thomas Wayne scene before that didn't happen. Maybe they both happened. I don't know.
Or his mom let him out of the fridge. Was in the fridge.
Wasn't his mom already in the hospital at that point, though?
Was she?
I believe so. I think that's why he's alone.
I don't recall.
Okay. Third time's the charm, Brian.
Again, I really have no problem with ambiguity. I feel like at the end of the day, he's mentally where he is either way. So I took it at face value.
All right.
So, I don't know if that was a choice, to confuse the audience or to kind of raise that question, which it may have been, because this would be an appropriate movie to do that with. But to me, it doesn't detract from the movie at all. There is a scene that detracts from the movie to me. Actually, a couple scenes where
lay it on me.
I felt perfectly fine getting to know this character, knowing enough about where he, his importance within the comic world and the film world, that I could have done without any of the Bruce Wayne scenes, or rather the Bruce Wayne scene or the end scene where the clown guy shoots Thomas and I don't know,
okay,
his mom.
Yeah, Martha.
I got it. Yeah, I got it that it was a Martha. Why'd you say that name?
Yeah.
Sorry. Wait, what? What was that? Did you say Martha? I just didn't need
You got lucky, Superman.
That's right. You sure did. I didn't need that explicit of a tie-in. It was fine. It didn't, it actually took me out of the movie a little bit both times. Like, I'm like, oh, we're seeing young Bruce Wayne. Now I have to do some math. How old is Bruce Wayne when he's fighting Joker? So Joker's much older.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? I'm like, well, is that really necessary to do that, to raise that question mark? And the end part, to me, it just didn't add anything. I was like, I got it. She's got the pearl necklace. We've seen it in several movies now. I don't need to see it in this one. I almost felt like it was a WB note, we have to have some tie into the Batman universe. Fine. We'll give you the necklace. We'll give you the death. Someone else will kill him. You know what I mean? So I was very glad when those scenes were over. And I guess that must have been, what's his name? The butler. Alfred.
Yeah. Alfred.
I guess that must have been their version of Alfred too. To me, I just could have done without it. It's a small gripe within the movie. I think your gripe is much more meaningful than that little one.
Let me just say that I didn't appreciate those scenes, but not for the same reasons that you didn't appreciate them. I don't mind the tie-in, and I thought it was nice. I mean, it is the Joker. It is within the Batman universe, and it is kind of like, they are arch nemeses to each other, right?
Yeah.
I didn't like the, we'll say, grimier versions of the heroes as I knew them. I mean, Alfred he's supposed to be ex-military, right? Instead, he's this kind of like squishy butler guy, and the Joker or Arthur is just able to like choke him right through the bars. And I'm like, well, come on, Alfred, fight back. I mean, you've probably killed people before,
Ex-military. Long time ago.
That's the thing, though. He didn't even look that old.
Right.
I think Joaquin Phoenix as the person is probably older than the actor playing Alfred. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, and then Thomas Wayne, he's kind of this Trumpian character, and it's just like he's kind of this dick, I'm like,
I didn't get that.
You didn't get that? That
I got that he was just
everybody's a
kind of
clown. Anybody who doesn't make anything of their lives are clowns. They'll realize that people like me are trying to help them.
We're
going to make their lives great again.
Yeah, okay. I did not get that tie-in at all.
Wow.
I felt like it was just a big tough guy, you know. He's like physically, his stature is, you know, so different than Arthur Fleck.
He's a big guy. You know who else is a big guy?
Huh.
Trump. Trump is like 6'3", bro.
He's 6'5", man. I know.
He's 6'5"?
He's a big guy.
6'5"?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know he was that big.
I like that they made him a tough guy, because this to me was like, okay, so this is where Bruce would have gotten it from, his stature, you know, and maybe some of his mannerisms from his older dad. I didn't get that at all. I got he was just a tough business guy. Plus, he was pissed off that his son had been played with, you know, or messed with. You know, so I didn't get that tie-in. I think that's a bit of a stretch, Mr. Garcia.
All right, well, I mean, first of all, Thomas Wayne is a doctor, right? And it's like...
Big doctor.
He's just this... What kind of bedside manner is that? You're all clowns to me. Now, what's wrong with you? How can I help you?
You're saying all doctors are nice and fit a certain profile?
Well, yes, Brian. Yes, I'm stereotyping. And then on top of that, I mean, you know, this was one of the things I wanted to talk about. There are some politics in this movie, and I felt like Thomas Wayne is supposed to be a Trump character, and all of the, you know, clown rioters are essentially, you know, Antifa or part of the resist movement, right? I mean, they are carrying signs that basically say that explicitly say resist. One guy, one extra, is like running towards the camera with a resist sign. Unfortunately, he's holding it upside down, and I'm surprised Todd Phillips didn't say like, fire that guy, we're shooting the scene again, or like fix it with like CGI or something, because I thought like, man, that just kind of like takes me out of the movie. You know, it's like, obviously they have this guy running towards the camera with the sign, so we're meant to read it, and to have it held upside down, I just felt like, man, that sucks. Or maybe Todd Phillips thought like, you know what, that's authentic. That would have happened in real life.
It would happen in real life.
Some moron doesn't know a sign's upside down. Okay,
I was in a musical number when I was in grammar school, and you know, every class had their own musical number they had to do, or number they had to do on stage for the year, whatever it was called, the year roundup or something like that. And for our little class, it was 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock. I don't know the name of the actual song.
Happy Days.
Yeah, whatever it is. So we all had to like either sit or stand, and we all had our signs. We'd all do 1, 2, 3 o'clock, and it was, you know, that was the kitsch of it. And I remember at the end, I was like holding up my 3 or whatever it was, and I noticed it was upside down. But the whole time I was holding it upside down.
Whatever, man. You're a kid. You're not a professional extra being paid, you know, for the day, $100 or whatever it is.
I didn't feel like it didn't necessarily have to be a political statement, though. To me, this is a guy. These are people who are zeroing in on something that's, you know, in their subconscious, that darker side that's being led by the Joker. You know, that what they've seen of him, and it's kind of pulling that out in them. You know, and I just didn't feel like it was necessarily. I don't feel like everything's a political statement that looks like one to you. I don't see it the same way. I felt like this was just these, you know, we know that Gotham really hits low, right? Before Batman comes around and tries to bring it back to,
okay.
You know, so I feel like this is the beginning of the downfall of Gotham. That's in line with the telling of that whole tale.
Well,
you know,
I think I'm with you on half of that, right? Like, it makes sense to me that the things that happen in the movie happen. Okay, you have a populace that is upset, you know, and it's hot, and they got the garbage strike and all of that, right? And then you have, you know, rich people, and these people, you know, the regular people, need, you know, to focus their anger on something, and it makes sense, you know, especially when you get, you know, a rich guy who's talking down to them, right? that all makes sense organically within the movie. However, I think you would be hard pressed to find any kind of uprising, we'll say in the 70s, that uses the word resist, right? And that's like their rallying cry. If this isn't purposeful on the filmmaker's part, it's a very strong coincidence that they decided to use resist in this period movie, and it just happens that resist is like something that is contemporary and populates our culture, right? So hey, maybe I'm reading too much into it. I just felt like, of all the things that you could use, all the words you could use, like why not eat the rich? I think maybe one of them had that, but why isn't that like the thing? That seems to be a little more cross-generational. Like we could see someone in the past using that same phrase. Like resist just seems like, one word. That's hashtag culture. It's like that. I don't think that fits in the 70s. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Unless you want to rebut. I don't want you to feel like, that's it. Conversation over, Brian.
I think I think I've stated that I don't agree.
All right.
And
fine.
why.
Expanding a little more on the politics. So because I felt like that's what this was representing, at least in part, I think it also, raises the question of, is Joker a hero or is he a villain? Because, if he is taking it to the privileged 1%, if he's teaching them a lesson, then is he a hero to our, contemporary political faction, if you will, that appreciates that? I don't know. And I don't know if I think maybe, the filmmakers just wanted to like have that be a question of morality, and the audience member will fill in the blanks there. But covering some information outside of the film, I think there are some articles or some interviews with Todd Phillips where he's the director who did the first Hangover movie. I don't know if he did the other two, but he definitely did the first one. And he basically lamented not being able to do comedies anymore because their PC culture is too rampant now, that you can't be funny anymore because people are going to be too offended. So instead, he makes this movie, and I felt like that's great. That's awesome. Make this dark movie, that has a message that you feel like you can say and that you want to say, whatever the political overtones or undertones. But then I felt like, he still, and I don't know if this is his decision necessarily, but that the film still kind of paid a little deference to PC culture by not having any minorities be portrayed as a villain in this movie. Instead, we have, Joaquin Phoenix in the subway getting beat up by stockbrokers, by 3 white stockbrokers on the subway. And I'm like, I know that this, makes sense plot-wise, but it didn't feel believable to me in the 70s, right? What do you think, Brian?
I think that you have gone as deep into the political sphere as I did into the symbolism sphere earlier.
Okay.
And I don't think that you see the film the way I do necessarily, or I see it as you do necessarily. I think that all the conclusions you're drawing make sense. I mean, I think I can see your flow, your logical flow makes total sense to me. It's just not the same movie I necessarily watched. I know that, I don't even consider things like PC culture. I usually just look at what's in front of me when I'm watching it, unless something pulls me out and draws that to my attention, which is usually a character that I wouldn't anticipate being maybe, a minority or something that all of a sudden is, or maybe a character that I've known forever. And all of a sudden they're presented as a female when they're typically a male, something like that. But
Yeah.
there's nothing here that felt inorganic in that way to me. So I didn't really have that same reaction. It's hard for me to comment on what you're saying because to you it makes sense that way. And I feel like there have been people talking, and I don't read any of the articles until after we do our little show. But I know that there have been articles about things like this, and I know there have been criticisms about the film. And I think that people bringing their own life circumstances or life views into it can sometimes cloud a movie, and not just look at it, like we talked about with Anna, looking at it as a piece of art. And I feel like this one truly is and should be looked at that way. And then if you want to add things afterwards, fine. But I don't know if it's possible to separate those things necessarily for you or for some other people.
And I get it. I get what you're saying, Brian, and I hear you. I was gonna say it. I hear you.
It's okay.
Here's the thing. I guess maybe if I had also approached the movie or not read anything about the movie, or the interviews with any of the cast members or the filmmakers or whatever before watching the movie, then fine, I could just watch it and appreciate it as art unto itself. I guess my question to you would be, if you did now read these other articles, and let's say there was something explicit that said, I, as the filmmaker, made this choice for this political reason, I hope it came across, would that then change your view? Would you then say, okay, yeah, this is political and this is meant to represent this thing? Or could you say, well, regardless of what the filmmakers were trying to do, this is how I'm perceiving it?
Yeah, I think the question can be asked in a completely different way, which is, if Todd Phillips said, Joaquin, or he never got out of the refrigerator. That was an attempt to kill himself, and it never really happened because he was in Arkham Asylum the whole time. How do you feel about the movie now? I say I love the movie because I took it for face value, Todd Phillips. Because now that it's here, now that it's been presented to me, regardless of your intention, here's the experience I had with it. So this is my reality of the viewing of this movie. So in other words, it does not affect me if that was an intention or not, because of the movie that I saw and the way I perceived it is my experience of it. That's why I say that yours, although I don't agree with some of the things you're saying, or I don't see it necessarily that way, I can't say that you're wrong. It's just a different perception of the same piece of art. And that to me is, we're not sitting here talking about, Good Boys and what was the feeling behind Good Boys and what were they really trying to say with Good Boys? You know what I mean? This is a movie that's worthy of discussion, and I'm okay with that, whether it be symbolistic, what's real, what's not, political. I think they're all valuable discussions to have. But I don't think it necessarily changes my perception of it unless I, on other subsequent viewings of it, see things differently. You know what I mean? So right now it doesn't affect me at all, though.
Okay. I don't, that's it. I don't know what else to say. So, I don't have anything else to comment on about this movie.
A couple things. One, both kind of small. The falling in love montage that happens in the movie with what's her name? Zazie Beetz.
Yeah, Zazie Beetz or whatever, something to that effect.
Zazie Beetz. That whole sequence I thought was really interesting the first time I saw it, because I did think it happened, even though I did, the very first time he kisses her, I was like, really? I mean, maybe they know each other from before, but I didn't get that impression. I think that was a bit of a leap. Oh, okay, it never happened. Regardless of that whole sequence was kind of like a true falling in love sequence, where they're going to the club together. He's doing his terrible act, she's giving him a little bit of smiling to it, and then kind of encouraging him. And then afterwards, she says a little thing which fuels him when they're looking at the papers, fuels him a little bit, like, I'm glad it happened to those guys, whoever killed the three guys, or whatever her, whatever she said.
Right.
And then they're sitting at the donut shop and, laughing, and you can't hear what they're saying. It was like all of the vestiges of a falling in love scene, montage.
Mm-hmm.
And again, on subsequent viewing of it, I thought this is really him falling in love with himself, falling in love with who he's becoming, and who he's developing into. And from that standpoint, it was a really interesting scene because, it's not he's falling in love with this girl. He's falling in love by the other people around him who are pouring attention on him because of the acts that he's done. He's fueled by that attention and the way that it makes him feel something pleasurable. So it's actually it is a love montage, but not in the way that it's presented. And I thought that was a really well done sequence, rather than just giving us something to think, oh, this guy's crazy. Here he is. And here are the scenes later where he was never in those scenes at all. But something meaningful did happen during that sequence that I think helps shift him from that, that early stage to later, to the later version of himself. So anyway, I just thought that was a really neat scene, a neat little sequence rather.
Yeah.
And there are politics too.
Well, I can go with you to a certain level. The whole falling in love with himself thing, I don't know. I mean, it could be that, or it could just be, once again, he's living in this fantasy world. To me, it is a continuation of his fantasy of being in the audience at the Robert De Niro show, whatever that show was, and being called down. And he's like, oh, I always wanted to have a father like you. And, there's nothing deeper than that. Just, it represents something that is missing from his life. He's filling it with his imagination. In this case, or in the Robert De Niro case, it's lack of a father figure. This is his father. In the girl's case, lack of a girlfriend. This is his girlfriend. Yeah, I mean, I just I can't argue that you're wrong.
That's our motif for this show.
Exactly. But excellent observation nonetheless. I mean, it's not something I would have been able to glean from that.
There's another little scene. I like to draw attention to these little things. I really loved. Like the first viewing, I'm sitting there and like, yeah, this is cool. And it was kind of at the midpoint of the movie, and he's done his killings, and he's having these issues with his mom, and he's starting to kind of find himself in between two worlds. So he's got this life of normalcy that he's deeply unhappy with. He's got this life where he does these things, these terrible things to people that are bringing him some sort of joy or comfort, and he's kind of in between at the time in the movie, and they show him on the bus, and he's in the very back of the bus. He's sitting in the middle of the bus. He's got a window bisecting him from behind, so he's got like two windows, one on either side, representing these two sides on which way in the bus is he going to move. Again, to me, that was, if you talk about the Antifa tie-in, and did he mean to do that? To me, this was another one of those very purposeful scenes. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I was gleaning meaning from these different scenes because there were so many of them that were interesting.
No, and I don't. Hope my expression isn't condescending in any way, because obviously, especially with the stairs, right? Like that wouldn't have been the only symbolism the filmmakers put into the movie, right? I'm sure they, I wouldn't say every frame is a canvas in the way that like the stairs thing was. Mm-hmm. But I think, where they saw was appropriate, they did add as much meaning to the visuals as possible. So, what it means or what they were trying to get across, I think that's anyone's guess, and I think that's, like any art, any visual art anyway. Well, we'll just say any art. It's the artist's job to go a certain distance, and then it's the consumer's job, meaning the person viewing or consuming the art, to go the rest of the distance and meet the artist. So, Excellent observations, Brian.
You too, man. You too. I did. One last thing is I did like the way the movie ended. Not the very last scene necessarily, but where you get to see Joker in kind of his full regalia, and he had that kind of sloppy smile on before with the makeup, and I was like, yeah, it looks good. It doesn't great, right? It looked good, but then when he got it kind of washed off on the on his mouth, and he got in the accident, and he takes the blood and makes the smile, like, oh, that is so cool. It's wicked. No symbolism there. I just thought that was just bitchin' looking. I'm like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, I felt like this is a movie that kind of informs what we know to be kind of the foundation of Joker and, his nihilism, and that, there's no real meaning to life because of everything that happened here. I feel like it's just such a neat foundation. I'm guessing they're never going to make another one. There's not going to be a Joker 2, I'm guessing, because I really think this is a standalone piece, and I hope they don't make another one, because I really love this movie. I'd like it just to kind of stay self-contained, but for the world that includes Joker, which is mostly in comic books, I think this is such a neat foundation. I even feel like it fits the foundation for what we see later with
Jared Leto.
Yes, exactly. That's a terrible performance. Anyway, the one with what's his name?
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. Yeah, I felt like this was a nice companion piece for that, nice foundational piece. So, yeah, that's about all I have to say about that.
All right, man. I could tell you were really looking forward to this conversation.
I was. I love the movie.
Okay.
Critics are supposed to be like, yes, I think this was a movie worthy of viewing. No, I love the movie. Go see it.
Oh, look at you. All right. Well, after that discussion, I think we are both unmoved. We both would pick the movie, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Pick it hard.
Let's say again, Brian.
Pick it hard.
Yes, pick it hard. Anything else you wanted to add before I sign us off here?
Sure. Blue screens of death rule.
Yes. The rest of ever since that happened mid show today.
Yeah.
I've just been in anxiety, just waiting for it to happen again. That's why part of me is just really distracted. I'm just totally, I hear you, Brian. Yeah.
You're still there, Brian? Great.
Symbolism. Let's wrap it up. I don't want to keep pushing my luck here.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this movie, if you enjoyed this episode and this movie, then please give us a like and subscribe, and make sure to tell your friends, and check back next week for our next episode.
Boom.
See you later.